Welcome back to Social Sciences class, all my dear young minds. In this video, we are going to come across the national movement that occurred in India during 1939 to 1947. What are the political developments that occur? We are going to come across in this particular video. Here, of course, I spoke that 1939 to 1945, 47, beg your pardon. But here the history starts from Government of India Act 1935. And before learning about Government of India Act 1935, we will be starting with the Vande Mataram movement. Why? Because certain things are there which are correlated, interrelated. If I explain them, now the concept can be understood well from Government of India Act 1935. And apart from this, another part is also there in the same concept, same unit, that is the facts related to the partition of India and how India got parted into India and Pakistan on communal lines. What is the role of Muhammad Ali Jinnah Indian Muslim League, and what is the role of RSS and Hindu Mahasabha, and what is the role of Congress or Indian National Congress also. But so in this way, we are going to come across several facts, and the lesson will be getting concluded with the assassination of Mahatma by Nathuram Godse, and the last one being the merger of princely states into Indian Union, that is under instrument of accession by Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel of Iron Man of India, right? Now we start with the Vande Mataram movement. See, Lord Curzon planned to divide West Bengal into two halves. Bengal into two halves. East Bengal and West Bengal. East Bengal comprised of Bengal speaking area, and a little Bengal speaking area, Bihar, Assam, Odisha were made into West Bengal by Lord Curzon in 1905. And when Curzon made his announcement, there was a huge uproar in the country. Mostly Indian National Congress was very strongly protesting this decision of Lord Curzon. Actually, Lord Curzon mentioned that on the grounds of administrative convenience, we are dividing. Was the cause given by Lord Curzon in dividing Bengal into two parts? But Indian National Congress did not agree with the argument of Mr. Lord Curzon, and it also identified that this British is trying to disunite Indians on the lines of religion. Why? Because most of the region which is called East Bengal comprised of Muslims in majority. Of course, there are Hindus also there. Other communities are also there, but they are in less number. More are Muslims. Whereas in West Bengal, there are Muslims in less numbers, and others, Hindus and others, are more in number, in majority. So, why British want to divide it? Because to put a check to the rising tide of nationalism, because all Indians are coming together now, irrespective of their ethnical identity, their religious identities, caste identities, region identities, and so on. Slowly, the storm is gathering up, and it's said in Telugu, better we pluck it out when it is a sapling. But if you don't pluck it out when it is a sapling, it will become a big tree where we can't wrench it out. So, like that only, when it is rising tide at the initial stage only, we have to put a check. British thought, because if this rising tide goes on around the country, we can't carry on ruling the British India. British India, why I am saying is, this India what we have seen is not the same India ruled by British. You have to understand. Only certain parts of India got ruled, many parts like Junagadh here in Gujarat, Junagadh. But in Kashmir in north, Hyderabad in the south, state of Hyderabad in the south, Even Hyderabad extended in Karnataka and Maharashtra also. Hyderabad, Kashmir, like this, many kingdoms were there ruled by Indian kings. These kingdoms which are not a part of British India, they were called as princely states. Princely states. Princely states. Our Junagadh, Hyderabad, Jammu Kashmir, they all are independent states, kingdoms ruled by native kings, means who were ruling from their forefathers. Right. And the remaining part is called as the part which is not there under these Indian kings, that is called as British India. And in India, not only these three are the princely states, there are 565 princely states before independence. And while during independence, after our freedom, that is in 1947 or 1947, when we got formed our government, Indian government, then slowly under the leadership of the then Home Minister and Deputy Prime Minister, Mr. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel, the late great personality of India, one of the great son of the soil. Under his leadership, the 565 states were present in the Indian Union, and now we are seeing the map of India like this. Okay, everyone understand? We are seeing Indian map like this. All that 565 also got merged into Indian Union along with British India, and or they got merged with the British India, and we are able to see this India. Now, of course, Pakistan was also there an integral part of India, but it got divided in 90 parts, and even Bangladesh was on this side. But so in this way, India was. This is what India was during British rule. 565 princely states, and British India got divided into 11 provinces. How many provinces? British India got divided into 11 provinces. Madras province, presidency, provinces. Princely states, now present day is a combination of princely states and also provinces, British Indian provinces. But 11 provinces are there, like Bombay Presidency, Madras Presidency, Central Province, United Province. But that is what Northern Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh, to certain extent, middle of Madhya Pradesh, this is called United Province, and above Central Province, and above that United Province, North Madhya Pradesh and UP, they are called United Province. In this way, Punjab Province, got it, Maharashtra Province, Bombay Province. Like this, we have several provinces. So, even we have Travancore princely state here, Mysore princely state here. Like this, the princely states are the 5 states. Apart from the 11 provinces are there in British India. So, this to have control upon Indians. If they are united, they can't run their show, because they started getting the feeling of nationalism and they started becoming together. So, what way we can divide these people? That's why they on the grounds, because Bengal being the land of progressive thought of the day. While Bengal was land of progressive thought, see, I will say something simple. What Bengal thinks today, rest of India thinks tomorrow, was the saying of Gopal Krishna Gokhale, one of the earliest nationalist leader, who is a moderate in Congress party, political guru of Mahatma. Got it? He is called political guru of Mahatma Gandhi. Got it? So before Mahatma Gandhi's advent into Indian politics, or before he guided Congress, Indian Congress, these were the very active leaders of Congress party. And he said that sentence, he stated that what Bengal thinks today, rest of India thinks tomorrow. What do you mean by? Why Bengal is at such a head? Actually, British ruled this domain in British India, domain called British India, making Kolkata as its headquarters. Sinana up to 1911, Delhi is not the capital of India. Kolkata was capital of India. In 1911, they shifted capital from Kolkata to Delhi because they gained some influence even in the Himachal Pradesh and North India also, Bihar, Bengal, and so on, right? So that's why these people there. What happened, because the British started their activity earlier, they established missionary schools, hospitals, and so on. English education was there. First missionary school was established by William Carey at Serampur, close to Calcutta. Srirampur, they call Serampur. So in that Srirampur, they established missionary institutions, hospitals, and so on. And there onwards, English education started spreading in India, and that's how those Bengalis were very early in having acquaintance with English than other Indians, other part of India. Got it? So this is what made them advanced, and they started following the Western ideology, and they used to look like they are modern. When entire India was Orthodox, and it was looking somewhat behind the Bengalis. So that's why with the proud they used to say that Gopal Krishna Gokhale used to say with the pride, not proud, pride. They used to say that what Bengal thinks today is what India thinks tomorrow. So the thought of progressive activity, questioning the government, started from Bengal. So from where it started, there only we have to cut down was the idea of British, so that it will not be contagious and it will not be caught by other parts of the country. But it will not catch the other parts of the country was the feeling of British. So that's why they implemented this divide and rule policy. And for that purpose, on the grounds, on flimsy grounds of administrative convenience, they divided Bengal into two parts, East Bengal and West Bengal. Then there was a big agitation in 1905, that is by August and September they were able to do this. In October 16 onwards, there was a big agitation called Vande Mataram movement. Every Indian started coming into the streets and started giving him a slogan called Vande Mataram. Vande Mataram is salutation to the motherland. Matrum means mother. Who is mother? Motherland is our mother. What it first to breath we take up coming from the womb of mom. We took the first breath on this soil. That's why it's motherland. In one of the popular Telugu songs also, we come across certain aspects which makes us to know about the value of the motherland. Janani Janmabhumi Swargadapi Gariyasi. Isn't it? See, there he says, Ni Talli Mosedi Navamasalira. Got it? Ee Talli Moyali Khadavarkura. Aa Talli Runam Talakorvito Tirenura. Ee Talli Runam Erupana Tirenura. What it Arupume Javanura song was there in Telugu. Isn't it? Yesterday's song of Senior NTR's movie. Got it? So what it says is motherland is seen more than mother. And yesterday's Indians were during the very particularly the hardships they faced during the British rule made every Indian to think more valuable the motherland is than their life. Today our life is more valuable than the motherland. Whatever it happened with motherland, we don't care. Of course, sorry to say this. Not all Indians, most of the Indians. The feeling and philosophy of most of the Indians is that not all Indians, few Indians are there still who love their motherland very much. And among this most, there are also certain people who have that commitment to the land. Only when it is India, Pakistan cricket match or Australia-India cricket match, then only we feel we are Indians. Then after the other day, we will dump our garbage into the neighbor's home. But there we don't get any Indianism. We are ready to quarrel with the neighbor. We are jealous about the neighbor's growth. But we don't care that it is my fellow Indian growing well, or my fellow Indian is being tidy and I should also be tidy will be not our concept. I am untidy and I will make my fellow Indian also untidy. But our Indianism suddenly comes with tricolor on the 15th August Republic Day and brass bands and badges and everything here and there. A big marketing activity comes, consumer market. It becomes India becomes on that day. In the name of tricolor and songs in the television and all, everything, colors at the background of the songs. Everything, only one day, 15th August and 26th Jan, that's all. For many, only 3 hours or 4 hours, that Indianism lies afterwards, nothing. Sorry to say. But that day, most of the people had that commitment to the motherland. That's why they did not care for their properties when Mahatma gave a call for non-cooperation. Swaraj Fund was organized by Mama Tilak, Balgandhar Tilak in 1919, 1920, and even women gave their golden ornaments and so on. Whatever is possible, they started giving. That was the commitment of Indians to get rid of the foreign rule. So many sacrifices were there. The freedom which we are enjoying because of the sacrifice made by the great people, great sons of the soil. Many sung heroes are there, many unsung heroes are there. Okay, why I am saying is, You generation, the present generations are unable to get what is the value of freedom, right? At what cost the freedom is available for us, right? Okay, let's go into the concept now. Here, Vande Mataram movement was there, where all the people, Muslims, Christians, Hindus, everyone was there in that, to break the deity. And once they did this, people did not get away. They tried, British tried. And again, British did not feel happy because their plan did not work out. Even Muslims and Indians, all Hindus and everyone are coming with the same slogan, and they are forced to put them in behind the bars. So in 1906, it encouraged the Muslim landlords, rich man belonging to Uttar Pradesh from Muslim community, to float a political party called Indian Muslim League, IML. And you have to know that Indian Muslim League, IML means Indian Muslim League. IML means Indian Muslim League. Even though British encouraged that landlords to form this IML, they formed, but of no use because there is a big gap between the common Muslim masses and this landlord. Landlords never used to go to the common people. So that's why common Muslims did not stand with the Indian Muslim League till 1949, we can say very clearly. After 1940 only, Muslim masses means even the poorest of the poor or belonging to Muslim community or Islam, following Islam, they started rallying back of Indian Muslim League. Up to that time, they were strongly with Indian National Congress only before 1940. How we can say? What is the reason? We'll come across. Bearing on the demand of Indian Muslim League, the British government, Indian Muslim League again will come across in the very next video about when I conclude this concept, related to this concept, introduction that I am giving you now. That ultimate completion of that, we will be coming into again Muslim League, its role and all, how it was successful in getting the support of majority Muslim community to it. These all things will come across, right? Just to introduce you, 1906 Indian Muslim League got formed. In the name of Muslim League, British brought an act called Government of India Act 1909. Government of India Act 1909. Actually, it will come later, but I am giving you for easy understanding. Later, whenever it comes later, you can understand easily. In the pretext that Muslims demanded, actually Muslim landlords demanded, but not entire Muslim community in the country. But in the name of their demand, British government in 1906 what formula? They gave a petition that landlords to the British government. On the pretext that they demanded very strongly, British government appointed a committee, that is Minto-Marley committee, to study the demands of these Muslims and to give some recommendations. And Minto-Marley both studied or whatever, just whatever the British government said, they gave that as recommendations. And banking on that recommendations, an act was made by British government called Government of India Act 1909. From here, Government of India Act became popular, right? From the 1909 onwards. What was there in this act is, again we will come across, now if you remember well, then later it will be easy, no more much explanation. There is provision of separate electorate for Muslims. Separate electorate means separate electorate to the Central Assembly to Muslims. What it means is, see, if elections are conducted, Muslims will never get opportunity to contest in the election, even though they get an opportunity and they contest, but they will not win. Why? Majority people in this country, even on the day, more than 80% are Hindus. So naturally they will be voting to their leaders, and they will be winning. We will not get an opportunity. If we don't get opportunity, who will be representing the problems of Muslims in that central legislature or different councils, executive councils? So you better make it wherever a non-Muslim is contesting, in that place, even you give chance to the Muslims to elect their representative, who can give his voice on behalf of the Muslim community, and who can give his voice on the behalf of on the grievances that are faced by the Muslim community, who are minority in this country, was the demand of Indian Muslim League, which was accepted by British according to Government of India Act 1809. So it gave a separate electorate to Muslims. So means Muslim voters in a constituency will elect their representative, and non-Muslims will elect their representative in a constituency. So in this way, a provision was given for the Government of India Act 1809. And Government of India Act 1990. This act is also called as Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. What it is called? Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. What it is called? Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. What are the recommendations given under Montague-Chelmsford Reforms? Government of India Act 1919, basing on that Government of India Act 1919 was made. What it is? Indians, without the consent of Indians, British government took the Indian soldiers into the First World War that occurred. We came across 70,000 soldiers died. But so they fought on behalf of Britain in Africa and Europe in the World War One, World War Two we came across, isn't it? So without the contents of Indian National Congress or anyone, they took it them. So now to pacify the pain that war caused in the minds of the Indian National Congress, it brought an act called Government of India Act 1919 in the year 1919. The same year, Jallianwala Bagh incident occurred. The same year, the Black Act called Rowlatt Act also came into existence. Got it? So what happened? Government of India Act, according to Government of India Act, it announced that hereafter there will be state level governments also, means provincial governments will also exist along with the central government or union government. What did it promise? According to this Government of India Act 1919, there will be emergence of the local governance. Actually, it is not on the basis of these particular things. They divided the subjects between the what we can call union government and central government, and this one what we can call central assembly and provincial assemblies. What it? Yeah. So what happened? They are the members of provincial assembly. Mostly they were nominated. Right? Government of India Act 1918 brought divided the subjects into two types. That is like finance, defense. What it? Communication, telecommunications, like that in the hands of union government only, British government only, which are called as reserved subjects. According to the Government of India Act, the areas of making program policies were divided into reserved list and transferred list. And in transferred list there are health, education and local bodies. Means the government that get formed in provincial provinces, they will be having control upon things like they will be having control upon transferred subjects. What are the transferred subjects? Health, primary health, education, and also local bodies, means panchayat, gram panchayats, and what we have the system, municipalities and so on, right? They will be controlled by local government, whereas union government will be controlling finance, money matters, and foreign affairs, defense, and so on. Communications like postal, telegram on the day, right? That will be controlled by your union government and central government. In this way, powers got divided for the first time between the provincial government and central government. Got it? According to Government of India Act 1919, which is also called as Montague-Chelmsford Reforms. Able to understand? And again, there was big uproar in India. 1920, there is a non-cooperation movement which was initiated by Gandhi under the guidance of Gandhi. Indian National Congress carried forward, and under the guidance of Mahatma Muslims also carried on Khilafat movement in 1920. They both simultaneously went in hand in hand. And by 1922, this movement came to an end because of a bad incident that occurred at Chauri Chaura in Gorakhpur district, where 22 policemen were set ablaze. Set ablaze means they were made to be in a position, they locked up, people locked up, and they set a fire to that police station where a good number of police got killed in that, where there is no chance to escape. They got buried in that, burned in that fight. Actually, it happened because the police fired upon a mob or peaceful protesters with no reason, like how in St. Petersburg it happened during the 1905 revolution, Bloody Sunday. On Bloody Sunday, the same happened here, and that irked, and people's emotions went out of control, and they did this activity. As the movement took a non-violent turn, Mahatma Gandhi gave a call of he stopped the movement. He gave asked of the Indian Congress to stop the movement. So that's how movements went one after the other. By seeing the ongoing protest of the Congress and increasing support to Indian Congress from Indians, and international affairs where world is at the brink of Second World War, things happening, Hitler's dynamic attempts, Mussolini's dynamic attempts is all, and Japan's aggressive attack upon China and all. These all things made that particular England to believe it's not a time to go pick a quarrel with Indians. We have to be friendly with Indians, so we have to do something to Indians. When it thought this, it gave Indians an act called Government of India Act 1935. Here starts the lesson. Right. Government of India Act 1935. Of course, this Government of India Act of 1935 is, most of it is found in Indian Constitution. That's why it faced Indian Constitution faced a big criticism by Constitution makers. Government of India Act 1935. According to this, diarchy was introduced. Government of India Act 1935. According to this, diarchy got introduced. Diarchy means now state governments will function with independent authority. No need they depend upon certain issues. Whatever the issues are transferred subjects are there. Earlier, even though those are transferred to the provinces, provincial governments can take certain activity or some action after the permission, due permission from, or after the acceptance of union government and so on. Now hereafter, after Government of India Act, they made it clear, British made it clear, no need of whatever the activity they want to do, they can elect their representatives, that a majority party can form the government, and that government will be having a prime minister. At that time, provincial head is called as Prime Minister Nana, and that Prime Minister will be accountable to the Governor General of India or Viceroy of India. Okay, a governor will be there appointed on behalf of British government, and they will be coordinating each other and they will be running the show. Finally, governor is accountable to the Viceroy of India, right? In this way, they made the thing. Means for the first time, Indians got somewhat an opportunity to rule themselves independently without the involvement of British in certain areas like health, education, and local self-government. So at this time, when the Government of India Act 1935 was introduced, the number of electorate means voters as a body, a group. Got it? Group of voters is called electorate. Is to Central Assembly is only 1% now. Central Assembly is only 1%. Whereas provinces, eligible voters in provinces or electorate in provinces 12%. This will be varying from context to context. Certain times when we come to the election procedure, it will be 14% it is shown. And when that is taken into consideration of 1950s, so there will be an increase. when we come into what we can call making of Indian Constitution, there are only 10% he speaks about. But in case of people who elected Constituent Assembly members from provinces, in that only 10% took part, he says. So, basing on the context, we have to give the answer. And if it is asked to be related to the national movement, it is 12% in that day. Before our independence, the number of voters existed in India. And if it is basing upon the Constituent Assembly, 10% is the right. And textbook is there. We have to follow the textbook only. Nana. Election process, related to election process, election commission, something is given, 14%. You have to remember. Don't get confused. There will be numbers will be varying in 3 chapters. There will be 3 different numbers. Need not worry. This is the story, right? So, province is 12% only. Why? Because 12% because only educated, well-to-do and highly educated were given right to opportunity. Means a person have to get a vote, right to vote, 25 years he should have, and he should be from a rich family and he should be highly educated. Means who are not educated or who are not highly educated or less educated, they did not get a right to vote. And even though they are highly educated but they are not rich, they did not get. Only rich, highly educated got the right to vote. And again, Central Assembly only 1% exists. These fellows who will be getting elected to the Provincial Assembly, they will be electing the members to the Central Assembly. That's why only 1% there it will be showing. So 1% to the Central Assembly, 12% to the provinces are the number of voters in the total population of India. They got elected. 11 provinces elections were conducted. Out of 11, Congress won 8 provinces. Congress won in Indian National Congress, INC won in 8 provinces and formed a government. And 8 prime ministers came into existence in that provinces. Got it? In that provinces, who came into existence? Prime minister. Now we are calling chief minister in a state. He is called prime minister at that time, right? So prime ministers came into existence, and 3 other states, Unionist Party and so on, such parties got one in the 11 other states, provinces, 3 other provinces, 8 Indian National Congress. So, in this way, the Indian Muslim League somewhere got some seats and so on like that. Okay. So, in this way, Congress came to the power, and without the consent of the Congress only, these Britishers made Indian army to run into the Second World War, which got started in 1939. 1st September 1939, Second World War started. Without the consent of Indian government, these people made Indian army to run into the World War, Indian National Congress. Without the consent of Indian National Congress, Britishers made the Indian army to run into the Second World War. This was strongly opposed by certain leaders of the Congress. And there are other section of leaders who strongly oppose the fascist leaders like Hitler, Mussolini and so on. So, Congress did not feel for that. One is strongly opposing them and supporting Britain. So opposing whom? Hitler, Mussolini, dictators. So as their dictators are there, it's no problem Britain taking our army into warfield, nothing, no problem. But saying of some leaders of Congress. And some leaders of Congress say that, or without the consent of we are there, our governments are there in the states, without having any consultation, straight away you will make our army to jump into World War II. Or what do you think about our sons of the soil? Is their blood available cheaply to you? That was the saying of objection of certain Congress leaders. And what is the motive these people thought? If someone is encouraging Britain to take their army to warfare, someone is opposing. This dual standards will be blessing with them independence after war was the anticipation of Congress. Dual standards, one is saying yes. One section of leaders of Congress are saying yes, other section of Congress leaders are saying no. This is a dual standard. What is the dual standard adopted by Congress? Dual standard adopted by Congress is one section of Congress leaders supported Britain and opposed in the name of opposing fascists like Hitler and Mussolini. And the other section of rulers opposed Britain because without the consent of Congress party, it is ruling 8 states in the country in the British India. Without consent, without acceptance of them, they took away. So that's why they did not act. In this way, Congress declared dual standards. A party should have a single stand, but they displayed two dual standards. And when they displayed these dual standards, what was the perception of inside? What is the opinion of Congress? Britain will be ending to our pleasure, and one way it is sad because certain section of Congress leaders accepted making India to join in the war, and it will be feeling pressure because of those people who are opposing that activity of Britain. So with this, Britain will be feeling somewhat frustrated, and it will be giving freedom to India, total independence to India was the belief of Congress as a whole. But that did not happen. The ruler of Britain, who was there existing as Prime Minister, was Winston Churchill, who was a journalist in the years. So that man did not show any interest to lose any single inch of land belonging to the British Empire. Winston Churchill belonging to the Conservative Party. Conservatives, narrow-minded, we can say. Conservative. Who are conservative and who are not broad-minded. Narrow-minded people are called conservative. So he belongs to Conservative Party. But Britain have at the time two political parties. One is Conservative Party and other is Labour Party. And the leader of Labour Party, which is the opposition party in Britain, which is not in power, Labour Party during World War II was in opposition, and Conservative Party was the ruling party. They did not show any interest to declare independence to any single inch belonging to England or Great Britain, British Empire. They want to retain them with them. Whereas Labour Party, which is led by Lord Attlee was having some sympathy towards Indians. Even today also Labour Party have some soft corner towards our Asian countries. And even in America, United States of America also, if you see, Democrats will have somewhat soft corner towards the countries of Asia and Africa. Whereas Republicans, which is the party which is led by Mr. Trump, that party is very conservative, and already we are seeing what is happening, how our Indian child, our sons and daughters are getting troubled because of the policies adopted by Mr. Trump for a couple of years, right? So, by not getting H-1B visa and so on, right? So, even the companies in America are also getting suffered. They went to the courts, and judgments are in favor of that companies and our Indians, not only Indians, non-Americans, who are ready to move to United States of America. Whatever the restriction is imposed by the government, that was nullified by one of the court, North Carolina, California court, in the recent past 1 week or 4 days back. But that was a big success of big news of happiness for our Indians, because most of the big migrants will be from India to United States of America on H-1B visa, right? So this way they're very conservative, they are not ready to accept anyone. And Labour Party was soft. And why I am saying about Labour Party again here mentioning is, in one of the district board paper, there was a question asked that who was the ruler of Britain when India got independence. When India got independence, what happened? Elections were held, and this fellows Conservative Party lost, and Lord Attlee got won. As Attlee got won, our freedom struggle became fruitful none, because Attlee was sympathetic towards these colonies. But they gave liberal aspects to the colonies. But these fellows are conservatives, are very strong. Winston Churchill did not show any interest to give any independence to any single inch. An inch also they don't want to lose. And by seeing this big pressure from Indian National Congress, there were different voices coming from the British government. At one point of time, they said that we will hand over dominion status to India. Important 1 mark question or 2 marks question it will be. How they tried to pacify, how the British governments tried to pacify national movement of India, maybe asked for 2 marks or 4 marks also, because Government of India Act 1909, 1919, these all are the things to be considered, right? Then we write 4 marks also. Right here, you see now the dominion status. What is it? What is a dominion status? Guaranteed a recent century to these people. The dominion status is to India. India will be having its own government. Indians can elect their own government. But this government will be an integral part of British Empire. But this government will be an integral part of British Empire. This was such a state which is having its own government, people elected government, but that government will be under part of an empire and controlled. Many issues are controlled by that imperial power. That country is called a dominion, not a kingdom. Dominion. It is called dominion. So that dominion status is across the Britishers. But Indian National Congress made it very clear. Nothing short of total freedom. We are asking for total freedom, Purna Swarajya. What did Indian National Congress made in 1929, 1930? Pune Congress Congress held at Pune. Indian National Congress made passed a resolution of Purna Swarajya. From that year onwards, we celebrated our Independence Day on 26th January up to 1947, even in 1947. But once we got independence on 14th August midnight, and 15th August we started celebrating as Independence Day. As we are celebrating 15th August as Independence Day, we opted our constitution to come into force on 26th January, which is observed as Republic Day, where people got the real power, sovereign power. That's why it is observed as Republic Day. Public people got it right. So that was status. Dominion status was given, offered by British, but Indian Congress said nothing short of total freedom. We want total freedom. We don't want to be a vassal state in British Empire. Then British government said, who are you? Do you think we are the whole and sole representative of all Indians? We are not going to consider you as sole representative of Indians, was a saying of British. And at times, Britishers commented Congress like anything none. They try to marginalize Congress, the influence of marginal Congress. They want to undermine. That's why they said, what is this Congress? It's a group of seditious Brahmins, they say. Actually, most of the leaders are highly educated, belonging to Brahmin community. No, actually, we have to see the positive aspect of that. But they are the people who initiated many revolutions, many movements, who educated Brahmins, undoubtedly. Certain areas, some areas, the Brahminical order might have gone wrong, but they are the people who initiated many areas, not only here, many areas in history and in mythology, many areas, right? So Congress was seen as more as a group of vicious or poisonous Brahmins. One of the Lord Dufferin commented like this: are microscopic minorities. What are you? Even you are not visible under microscope. If we put a microscope upon you, even virus may be visible, but you are not visible. Was the saying of such comments were passed by Britishers to undermine the image of Congress, to damage the image of the Congress. And what they started saying, if it is said by you, it's acceptable. Don't we have to take consideration of the feelings and emotions of the other minority groups in this country? Means Muslims are there, Christians are there, Sikhs are there, Buddhists are there. And if we listen to you and we will give power to you, you will do according to your wish, and those sections will be getting deprived of their rights. And they will meet injustice for centuries to come. We are not going to honor you, was the saying of British. Surely these words will be very happy to those sections who got deprived of their economic right, economic education rights for centuries together. And in this way, they started divide and rule again. Indians. On the line, by showing that Congress is a representative of one particular community called Brahmins or Hindus, and the remaining groups are getting injustice. If you believe back on the Congress, you will get injustice, was the threat created by British in the minds of non-Hindus. And we have to take into consideration, what do they mean? Means they are also equally important like you people, and we will talk with them, and without their consultation with them, we will not take any action, or we are not going to give any total independence. If it is given, you will be doing injustice to those groups. Was the saying of British, not my saying, no, please don't take it my saying. It was the saying of British to divide their rights. And after non-cooperation movement, many long years, leaders were in prison. And in 1930, 1931 Roundtable Conference was held by Lord Irwin. But no major leaders are there to participate in from the side of Congress, which is a representative of majority Indians. Ultimately, in 1931, they released Mahatma Gandhi. Mahatma Gandhi put a condition that if a majority Indians who are arrested, Congress workers and men leaders who are arrested and put behind the bars, 90,000 people were arrested during Salt Satyagraha, Dandi March. 90% of people got arrested during Salt Satyagraha, Dandi March in the year 1920. So you have to release, that condition was put by Mahatma. After that condition, they released Gandhi and other presidents of belonging to Congress. And some discussions went, but they were not fruitful. First roundtable RTC, roundtable conference, second roundtable conference, third roundtable conference. Finally, a result of that government of the third roundtable conference, we got Government of India Act 1935. The roundtable conference was held in the 1930, 31, 32. Okay, right. It's over. So, major political activity was not there from Congress up to 1940 because the British brought a black act called Rowlatt Act. Rowlatt Act in 1919. Indians started opposing it strongly because without showing any cause, they can arrest any point of time. Police can arrest anyone any point of time if they identify them as a revolutionary. And they can torture them without presenting them in front of the court. Rowlatt Act. We have to ROWLATT Rowlatt Act. As my this memory is getting concluding Nana. So in 1942, again a movement, mass movement was launched by Mahatma that is called Quit India movement. Up to that time, Congress was silent, and the Congress ministers existing in the states, by seeing the repression used by the British government, got resigned in October 1939. All the 8 states where Congress government is there, all the chief ministers and ministers, they resigned. They thrown down in 1939 and they picked the path up again. They started planning for a movement against Britain, and the result is Quit India movement in 1942, guided by Mahatma Gandhi. Got it? October month 1939, all the Congress ministers which came to power in 1937 elections got resigned. Right, up to there we are learning today. And in the next video we will be coming across formation of Muslim League once again, a brief, and then after how it got strengthened, right?